Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Redemption HQ. I am joined here with Mr. Harlan and Mr. Robert. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing well, doing well. How we doing?
A fantastic day over here. Nice weather too. Not too hot, not too cold today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking great. Getting some yard work done and things are looking great. Sun's out, guns out, as they say. So
So they
now speaking of guns out, one of you has a wonderful story about an achievement that you just got over the weekend.
ah, yeah, I passed my second degree black belt test for the discipline of Taekwondo. Uh, I'm very pleased to say it was a wonderful experience, a very difficult experience, but I have a wonderful set of instructors and assistant instructors over at my dojang, and big shout out to them.
Yeah. See,
Congratulations.
now that is the great thing. See that you're an everyday hero. That's what it is. In real life, you're an everyday hero.
I'm trying.
We're gonna make a character sheet of you, and you're gonna be a playtest character. That's what's going. That's what's.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
We'll find you in the back of a book. So, yeah, as everybody can tell, we're going to be talking about character creation here today. We're going to be bringing in hopefully three different orthodox towards creating characters. We've already kind of pre-mapped out what we're going to be doing, but first, I want to tell everybody the results of our poll. So, everyday heroes have an everyday thirst, and it looks like 52% of you picked coffee to quench your thirst. That, what
I'd
do you
agree with that.
You agree with coffee?
Huh.
How about you?
Oh, I drink entirely too much coffee. It's
I.
out of control. It is out of control. I drink a pot of coffee before I leave for the day. I pick up coffee on the way to work, and then I hit up the coffee pot at work. And the only time I stop drinking coffee is by the time I get home. And yeah, my caffeine intake is borderline unhealthy, but
We
I've
got to
I've
get you a
had
caffeine
worse
port.
vices in the past. Yeah, exactly. I've had
It
I've had
does.
worse vices.
It doesn't surprise me to hear the coffee was the top of the charts there. Not my go-to drink if I'm honest. I tend to do more tea and cocoa than I do coffee. I like a good tiramisu, but not a big coffee drinker.
It's very classy. The tea, very classy.
Tea's a great option. That's what I'm drinking right now. I got some Arizona green tea, but my
Ooh,
favorite,
nice.
my favorite didn't even get picked, and I forgot to vote for it. But Squirt, Squirt's the way to go.
Squirt.
It's been so
Squirt.
long since I had that.
See, and that's a problem. Squirt is the most refreshing soda pop you could ever drink. Low sodium, low sugar, no caffeine, made with real grapefruit juice. Now that right there, ladies and gentlemen,
What a plug, man. What a
is a
plug for Squirt.
refreshing drink.
Woohoo! Ooh,
So,
refreshing glass of squirt.
nice, ice cold squirt. Can't beat it, especially in the summer days. So let's go ahead and talk about what our characters are. Actually, no. Where should we start? We want to talk about the character creation rules, or do we want to go ahead and talk about our characters first? Or
Let's start with the basic rule structure. That way, the folks at home will be able to follow along.
okay, everybody have their book.
Aye, aye.
Books right in front of me. Got everything mapped out, ready to go.
All right. So now they list three different approaches. They have concept first, rules first, or just wing it. What do you like to do?
I usually go. It kind of depends on whatever campaign or game that if it's a one shot, sometimes I'll go winging it.
Hmm.
But I feel like generally I go concept first. If I'm doing say like a one shot of a high level uh anything really, D&D or Savage World, like anything where it's I'm really get to flex out a class or a character,
Hmm.
then I'll really dial in on some min maxing and really like structurally build out. But when it comes to characters I'm going to play for a long time, I always go concept first because the stories in the roles for me, and if I have a character that I have an attachment to and an investment in their story and their progression, yeah, I'm going concept first almost every time.
Mhm.
Nice. I tend to. I'll go about 50% concept, 50% just go ahead and get the class I want to play and stat it out. But especially with the background and profession combination of elements to our character creation in this game,
Mhm.
having that concept at the start can be really helpful as far as saying, okay, we know this background matches the key turning point of how this character gets to this point in their life. This profession is either what the character from the comic or the TV show or the film or the book was doing, or it just matches the personality of this character. Or sometimes it's really fun to actually find a very mismatched uh, background and profession. Like I created a LARPer background
Mhm.
with a military profession, with the idea that
That's
this guy was a closet LARPer and gamer. So he'd be doing the PT and the exercises on the military base all week, and then when it came time for leave time, it's like massive sets of dice bags in the fanny pack and huge numbers of foam swords and cosplay stuff. No,
those
life worth.
characters end up being so much fun.
Oh, they are fantastic.
Now, see, I actually know somebody that is like that though. He's an expatriate. I'll call him Mr. Peacock. Great guy. He served in the army back around the time of the Desert Storm. He was in Germany, and he was a role player or LARPer before he joined the army. He actually taught
That is
his
awesome.
he taught his like platoon how to LARP, and that's how they would run through drills. They'd pick up pine cones for grenades and sticks for guns, and then they would run drills doing it like that. He kind of taught them how to do it, and it was quite effective. They built up their team unity over that. Great guy. Yeah, he expatted to Germany because he's got family over there. Um, he's got his
Very
his
cool.
chil- his children are over there. Yeah, great guy. I miss him. I miss him a lot.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. True story about your concept.
So cool.
Um, I'm kind of in the same boat too. I'm kind of a rules and concept guy. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of like to build my characters around the group as well. I prefer building characters together. I don't like the isolated pocket creations, so it's like, oh, just create whatever you want. I I like having like a role to play sometimes inside of a group, whether it's a spellcaster, healer, um, the damage dealer, the skill monkey, either any of those. But like I like to fill that or feel that in the character creation and just the
Nice.
soundboarding. What about you guys?
Yeah,
Um,
being able to see what roles the party has already got and
Hmm.
what areas could be of use to the party. I do the same thing with 5e D&D.
Hmm.
I'm usually one of the last people to create a character because I want to say, okay, so we got a whole bunch of damage dealers, we got some big area casters, but every time somebody forgets to bring a healer.
Yep.
So
most of
I
the
I
time.
I love all the classes and all the different roles that you can play. So I've got no problem saying, okay, I'll be a healer this time,
Hmm.
or I'll be everyone's going big heavy damage, so I'll be one of the sneaky talented folks or one of the more mobile precision striker folks. No problem at all. Just shifting into whatever role is required.
I would say, like as a player, I do enjoy kind of building around the group. When I'm running games, it is kind of fun to just have people bring their concepts and then find a way to meld them together within that group. But if anyone's ever read the Game Master's Handbook of Proactive Role Playing
Mhm.
by Jonah and Tristan Fischel, I think that's how it's
Ooh.
pronounced. I reread that book fairly recently and started like a side campaign with one of my groups, and we actually kind of took the advice of setting up goals and everything early on, with like a real session zero of giving each character goals. Because a lot of the times my players will be like, all right, I got this great mechanical build, it's going to be super sick. And I was like, let's strip that away this time. Let's
Mhm.
focus on the group dynamic. And so we now have an all bard group that is all multi-classing in different classes that all like
Sweet.
own a restaurant in and instantly everyone is super invested in their characters. It is so odd, but it's a ton of fun. So yeah, I would definitely agree. There's a lot to be said about building as a group, and but building as a group and then having everyone be a bard, I was like, this is going to be something else.
But
Oh, yes.
and that's one thing to appreciate too is a part of that, uh, allowing people to have that maturity, that it's like they
Mhm.
don't have to feel like they need to break the game. Like I have to min max my damage, so I'm rolling a bucket of dice on this one goblin every single round. It's just
Mhm.
having that having that kind of that character build, that story build. Man, that's wonderful. I love hearing that.
Yeah. You get a little
Cheers.
tired of people bringing characters of like, if I can find this character in like the top hits of Reddit posts, like
Hmm.
I know you just pulled this off of here, which it's fine. But especially with newer players who are new to the game through, D&D podcast, tabletop playing podcasts,
Hmm.
it's like they just want to get in there, start rolling dice, doing damage, pulling out these broken builds. I'm like, let's step it back to the core of these games, which is the role playing aspect of it. Like, so I've kind of that's been the most interesting thing to teach new players. It's like, don't
Hmm.
forget, like, this is not just a like, this is a role playing game. So put a little bit of time into your background, put a little bit of time into those concepts, and I guarantee you're going to be way more attached to this character once we're into this game. So
Yeah, dialing it back from you're not playing a tactical nuke, a bipedal tactical nuke. You're playing a character.
yeah.
That character could also happen to be the equivalent of a biological tactical nuke, but
Yeah,
the goal is to have a character in front of you. Yeah.
yeah, you can have both.
Let's
They are not,
see.
especially if you look at that brawler class, they are not mutually exclusive.
Oh, true.
No, not at all.
Let's see. They got here. Step one. Concepting your character. So think about the following questions as you contemplate the hero you want to play. Who are you? What are your influences that shaped you? What do you do now? When and where did you step out of the ordinary and become a hero? Why and how did it happen? So, of course,
So how do we want to tackle this? Do we want to go bit by bit, or just go through the rules first?
Uh, hmm, fair question. Uh, now that we've got that first step of the concept, should we all share the concept that we have in mind?
I
sure.
think that'll work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to kick it off? I can
Oh,
kick it off.
go ahead. You can go ahead and kick it off.
All right. So, like I said, concepting characters for me is kind of my jam, where I want to get into my character. Um, and as I was flipping, like I said earlier, I was flipping through the vault, and I was like, well, what character do I want to build for this little character creation pod? And I was specifically wanted to dive into the vault. And I was flipping through, and I'm like, oh, look, bonded twins. That's usually what I'll do is I'll look at classes first, and then I'll build back from there to kind of find a
Right.
way that'll put something that I like into that class,
Mhm.
and maybe something sometimes a little contradictory to what it would normally be. But I saw Bonded Twins, and my mind immediately went to Jay and Silent Bob. Like first thing, right off the rip, I think Bonded Twins. It's Jay and Silent Bob.
Mhm.
So I immediately set to building out. What was it? Clay and Quiet Rob.
Love it.
So
Love it.
yeah. And I've seen builds for Jay and Silent Bob in the past, so I was like, let's go a little bit grittier with it. Um, and anyone who doesn't know Jay and Silent Bob, they are the two stoner uh, side characters to the View Askew universe, Kevin Smith movies, Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and all of that. So I wanted to build them from the 90s Jay and Silent Bob era. So I was thinking Clerks to Dogma. And as I thought of like the grittier side of it, you've got these two Jersey boys who are drug dealing burnouts that hang out at the convenience store, the Quick Stop. Um, but the second I thought gritty, I was like, okay, well, in Dogma, at one point, they witness uh, these two angels killing a huge crowd of people trying to get their way like back into heaven. They're going to undo existence, and it's kind of a massacre. And I thought, they move on from that pretty quickly, and they meet Alanis Morissette, who plays God, which is to me perfect. And I was like, well, what if that event shaped them in a darker way that a lot of us would see that and be like, I don't know if I can go back after
Fair
witnessing
point.
something like that, you know? So there's a small reference later on in Clerks 2 where the Jay and Silent Bob are they're arrested driving around a car with deployed airbags, and instead of spending time in jail, they're giving community service. The two of them find God, and they're still like selling weed. It's very, very strange. But in my little gritty world, they actually spent time in prison after that pullover. So I pictured them with that juvenile delinquent burnout uh, upbringing being shaped by this apocalyptic type event, and then their lives kind of spiral out from there. So
Very cool.
they have all the touchstones of Jay and Silent Bob, but I wanted them to be a bit more harrowed by by their past, pretty much. So I'm just gonna go back to exactly what the questions were for concepting it. Who are you? What influence shaped you? What do you do now? When and where did you step out and become a hero? Why and how did it happen? So, yep, Jay and Silent Bob. The influences that shaped them was their upbringing in Jersey, selling dime bags to kids outside the Quick Stop. Where they of stepped out of the ordinary and became heroes, I built them a bit more as anti-heroes. And where that stepped out of that was after the events of Dogma, in sort of a side reality where their stint to prison happened much quicker. And they come out into the world after a long stint in prison, trying to pick back up their business. But now that they are smugglers and dealing in a bit of a darker side of that world. So that's where I jumped off with that. And so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with that. So I guess we'll circle back to me. That is that background for it. And like I said, I went with the wise hero, Bonded Twins, which is in the vault.
Very cool.
And we'll
Very cool.
jump into that a little bit more and why they are actually wise heroes. I've got an argument for that coming down the pike.
Very
See,
cool.
now, and it's funny enough though, because I was reading through that Bonded Twins, and I have an argument more for, well, on the cinematic side of Pacific Rim. instead of wise, charismatic. But I have a different argument for that. But we can talk about that later. Maybe when we talk about Pacific Rim when we get around to reviewing the book.
Fair
Yeah.
point.
So, but I'd love to hear you. I'd love to hear it. So, how about you, Rob?
So for the concept I had in my character, and partially this is because I recently did go through the second degree black belt test.
Mhm.
I was going through my memory and thinking about characters in films and old shows that were, uh, as a defining trait, able to really get into it and knuckle up in a fist fight and have good martial arts skills. And the sheer number of characters is legion. I mean, you've got Peter Kane, and Kwai Chang Kane from the old Kung Fu: The Legend Continues series. You have the more recent Kung Fu TV show adaptation that went for 3 seasons. Just about every sci-fi or fantasy show for the main characters have inexplicable martial arts talents.
Nice.
Oh
uh,
yeah.
but the the one that kind of uh, reached out to me the most in terms of what would be fun for this character creation situation is also a way to sort of show off some of the interesting possible options there for players. Do you guys remember the old, uh, old being a relative term? This was back in I think 2014. The 2014 CW TV show Beauty and the Beast. It was a reboot of the old 90s Beauty and the Beast TV show, or rather a reimagining.
I'm familiar, but I never watched it.
It was
I
a
do remember
pretty
this.
darn good like sci-fi thriller mystery show. Every episode had a crime that the main character duo, the title duo, would end up getting involved in, trying to figure out what was going on while trying to keep under the radar of this big military government conspiracy that had created one of the main characters. And so I was thinking the Beast in the Beauty and the Beast thing. The character's name is Vincent Keller. So I was thinking about a character inspired or based on him, where it would give me the opportunity to use the mutant background
Oh,
and
nice
get
choice.
some superhuman senses, get some enhanced strength, something along those lines, uh, and also let me have a pretty interesting blend of possible profession and background choices. Then I'll go into more detail on those when we get to that part of the creation. But that's my concept. A sort of an on the run superhuman martial artist.
Hmm,
Excellent.
nice. I guess for myself, I'll go up, all the way up to step three. Beyond the concept and the character and the background and the profession, um, I'm making a sleuth character. His name is Jake Turnbull, and he was a war correspondent for. He was an independent war correspondent, and as for his history, if it bleeds, it leads, and this time it leads to Redemption HQ. He was
Ooh.
a war correspondent inside of Ukraine, dealing with the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And the moment he stepped up to become a hero was a young man on a bridge. He had been clearly drafted into the situation, and he was ready to jump off a bridge and end it all. And Jake, rather than being the typical journalist just there to snap the pictures and get the final moments and report it, he decided to set the camera down and jump in to save the young man. And then from that, someone from Redemption had spotted him. They had other agents and decided to bring him into the organization as kind of a recon intelligence gathering agent. Sorry,
I
mine's a
love
lot more
the
heavier
journey.
hitting. Mine's a little bit more, a
I
little
love
grimmer.
that, man. Topical
That's awesome.
and ties in. It ties in well with the ego program and everything. And I mean, we are
Absolutely.
Redemption HQ here,
Mhm.
and I love that. I love the wide array that we've got going on here.
Mhm.
Cheers to that.
Thanks. Yep, he's
Waltz boys.
very like that. Familiar with the Jake Gyllenhaal movie Nightcrawler?
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
great flick, man.
Yep, very heavily influenced from that. I love that movie. It's so good, so grim.
Oh, so grim.
So that's where I was going with it. All right. So
Very cool.
of course we got background. So you have your with your background. Now there's the mechanical that gives you your stat bonuses, some skills and such, as well as languages, nationality, proficiencies, iconic equipment, special features, and all of that. So let's go ahead and what do you want to do? Want to discuss what all that comes with our determinations, or do you want to skip through that, go on to the next section?
Well, actually, I was gonna. I figured we'd touch on the backgrounds here
Okay.
because this is, a good example of where my character building thought process was when I was building out, this character.
Yep.
So
Good call.
I picked out a few different backgrounds that I was kicking around for these characters. And anyone that is familiar with Jay and Silent Bob or has seen the movies could probably point to each of these and say this would definitely work for this character. So I'll just fire them off real quick, and I'll finish out with the one that I thought would have been the biggest curveball would have changed my entire character build, but I stuck with uh, the cinematic concept of it and was like, let's just run with this. So what I went with for them was the obvious background, which was juvenile delinquent. Um, Jay and Silent Bob are
Love
key
it.
juvenile delinquents. They sell pot. They hang out in front of the store. They loiter. Like it's all the hallmarks of juvenile delinquency. They're rude, crude, and just a little bit of a menace. They're kind of like these urban legends. So I went that, it gives me the underworld contacts, which is advantage on Streetwise to buy or sell illicit goods and services, which makes the most sense. You pick your boost from strength, dex, or charisma, and you get a skill proficiency in deception, sleight of hand, or streetwise. All those things line up perfectly. So I was like, let's not mess with what works. So the other ones that I looked at were Misfit, because obviously Misfits, counterculture. They do kind of live in that heavy metal lifestyle of the late 80s, early 90s. They've got their friend from Russia in the band who sings Berserker in the flick. I was like, this is perfect. Street Rat. Um, the, Once again, that to me like goes back to these juvenile delinquents. They basically live in front of a convenience store. But the one that I'd really toyed with, which would have really changed the build entirely, was taking the extraordinary background Divine Intervention. Because when I built the
Oh,
character, yeah, I was
with the
thinking, all
dogma
right, Jay
moment.
and Silent Bob, Dogma. Dogma to me is my favorite uh, Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob flick. It's just uh, so out there and fun, but in the flick, they meet God at the very end, who is Alanis Morissette, which again couldn't have been cast better. But I was then going to go this way where they were divinely influenced because of meeting Alanis Morissette at the end of this. And, they get this special feature, Sight from Beyond. You can recognize a creature if it's divine by nature, just by sight on it. Leans into the +1 to wisdom and skill proficiencies in perception or insight. Comes with a little lucky charm left by your savior. It was going to be like a lip print tattooed from when Alanis Morissette kisses Jay. This is going to be
Right.
perfect.
Aw.
But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go with the gritty approach instead. We'll just keep juvenile delinquent. So right there, for this one character build, I was jumping around between these at least 5 backgrounds and a couple more. But yeah, there's a huge versatility in the backgrounds in the vault in the core rule book. So I just wanted to highlight that they do all touch on similarities, misfit, juvenile delinquent, counterculture, street rat, but they all have that one thing that sets them apart.
Mm-hmm.
Misfit gives you advantage on wisdom checks to observe people. Counterculture allows you advantage on charisma checks to interact with punks, goths, weirdos, and anarchists, and it all gives a perfect flavor for whatever build you're looking.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my thought process.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, again, with the character I was basing this fella on, I came from a regular everyday background, so I briefly considered maybe like the ordinary background for your run of the mill regular life, but the guy is literally an experiment. He's a prototype super soldier. So I was thinking uh maybe there's a, again, referring to the vault, there is a special background referred to as I think it's mutant legacy. But that looking at the tone of it, that felt more like, hey, you grew up in a community of mutants rather than you are a science experiment. And given that the core turning point of his character's story is when he realizes, wait a minute, I'm one of the only relatively stable prototypes in this experiment, and someone's just put a sanitation order, a kill order on the entire project. I got to go on the lam.
Oh,
So
man.
for me, the on the run background, even though it doesn't really speak to his full past and growing up, the core defining element of what got him from his past into the present is this: I got to go on the run. I have to hide. I have to constantly try to hide that I even am still alive. I have to be a ghost. So I went with the on the run background. And should we talk about the mechanics behind that as well? Like what each background gives us?
Sure.
All right. So in this case, because he's constantly on the run and looking over his shoulder, he ends with a proficiency in the perception skill, which one he's got heightened senses from his experimentation anyway, so that kind of dovetails nicely. He gets a +1 boost to his Constitution score, and he also gets, put that in there, and he gets a special feature called On Edge. Whenever he rolls initiative, he can re-roll once, but must use the new result because he's that constantly on a knife's edge of fear and readiness.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets for iconic equipment, he's got like a loose-fitting hoodie and sunglasses, your classic I'm trying not to be noticed but look super sketchy disguise, and a fake ID. So that's what I'm getting from him for this.
That on edge ability is so great.
Oh, it's
I had the
beautiful.
on the run background for the character in my ego games, and I have there are times where I'm just like I need to bump up here, and it's either panned out or it has worked against me entirely.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's a gamble. It's a gamble, but it's a beautiful gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Especially especially if you roll really low. Oh my gosh, all you can do is go up from there. So you might as
Truth.
yeah.
well.
Truth. And
It
that brings us
negates a
to
one.
our
Go
oh yeah,
ahead.
who did?
Who? Sorry.
Oh, I said it just negates. It almost
Mm.
negates a one because the only thing you can do is roll another one, or you just
Yeah, go up.
Truth.
See, I went with I went with Cosmopolitan. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I like I now I was interested in creating my own, like a different background, but I figured this one was probably the best. You are traveled and read widely and pick up useful. Oh, excuse me. Drink some pop and it's coming up. Uh, useful knowledge from various cultures. Now you have the gift of feeling at home wherever you roam. And as for a journalist, especially like a war
Hmm.
correspondent, you that is absolutely key. You want to be able to meld in with the population, so that way they can trust to talk to you. You can trust to talk to them. Gaining even the key abilities like this. I'll go ahead and skip down to the special feature of Common Tongue. You know basic informational phrases in a large number of languages, and you can understand simple replies. And this allows you rudimentary communication no matter where you go or what language the people speak there. So it's like polite greetings and apologies, where like the place or thing is, exchanging names, what time it is, what is this place or thing called, how much does it cost, and we are tourists. You know, so those are great things to have as soon as you walk into a situation. Um, which is one of the things that why I designed him particularly for like a recon situation. Like it's almost like harkening to remember in Expendables when Stallone and Statham they go to the island and they're they're talking about how they've got a big plane for transporting animals and they're there to observe birds and they go around with their camera and they're trying to they're taking pictures of the scenery. They're trying to get a lay of the land of the base that they know that they're going to have to infiltrate, and that's when we find out that Eric Roberts is the big head honcho bad guy. Um, I love that. I really love that scene of Expendables. So it was, kind of built that into my character concept from that.
It's
Uh,
excellent, and I love that Eric Roberts is once again brought up on this podcast.
he will be a patron saint of Redemption
Yes,
HQ.
we will work him in every episode if we have to.
Was he ever now was he ever in any of the Highlander stuff? I'm trying to think. Cuz I know the TV show
I
had a lot of actors.
A lot of guest stars, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I'm not sure, but I'm also worried about falling back down the Eric Roberts rabbit hole.
we're going to have a 6 degrees to Eric Roberts. Screw Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Oh man. So I'm going to go ahead and rewind back to so ability scores. The I increase the wisdom by 1, which is great for a wise character and language. You get additional social sciences, which is great for interaction, and iconic equipment, a valuable piece of art from a foreign country. Um, that's one thing I'll have to figure how to work that
Hmm.
in. Um, might be like a personal trinket or maybe a photograph he carries with him. I'd have to work that in. Um, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Yeah, it could be something you're sitting on to sell once the heat's down.
Oh yeah, true that. So we can go ahead and no, did you? Yeah, you guys already went through it. So professions.
Yes, this was another opportunity to flex what the vault has to offer us.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted to use the career path, which is an alternative to the standard professions. Reading right from the vault here, they're designed to model the complexity of a full career in which there is a path of advancement through the ranks of chosen profession. The career paths allow you to advance along your career as a character option and gives you finer details in building your hero. And this to me is speaks to what I really enjoy about a lot of games that give a lot to uh, really fleshing it out. Like Shadowrun has its its karma system, which gives you the good and bad qualities and everything you got to balance out. So this is definitely something I wanted to highlight about it. So I went with the career paths, and I went the criminal career path. So what the career paths do is give you, I believe all of them give you 3 steps uh, to sort of flesh out how your character got to where they are. Crime obviously makes the most sense. So in step 1 of the criminal career path, step 1 is how did you get started in your crime? And it gives you a bunch of options: burglary, extortion, finance, fraud, hacking, muscle, robbery. For Jay and Silent Bob, or I should say Clay and Quiet Rob, I went with smuggling. So, smuggling, you trade in
Okay.
illicit goods, be they drugs, money, or even people, which is pretty dark. Um,
Very.
it gives you an increase to your charisma by 1 to a maximum of 20. Gives you an additional language, which I was like, how am I going to work this in for these characters? It gives you the streetwise proficiency, and for the iconic equipment, a nondescript panel van with secret compartments. Anytime that you can get a vehicle, my feeling is snatch that up, and a panel van with secret compartments just speaks to the characters driving around with deployed airbags, with a van full of illicit drugs. So I grabbed smuggling for them. They're low
Good
level
fit.
drug dealers. It kind of made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So step 2 was how much hustle do you put into your criminality? It ranges from scraping by all the way up to crime never sleeps. What this does is kind of dictates your wealth level, and then it leans into something that to me is one of the most valuable parts mechanically of the career paths, which is you get these basically like little feats, like mini feats, not minor feats, but mini feats. They are minor and major listed in here, but you get them right off the bat. So for them, I really took their wealth level based off of the title of this level of hustling, which was chilling like a villain. I could just picture those words being used. I was like, this fits them perfectly.
Great.
It Oh yeah, it puts me at a wealth level 2, which comes with the little ability feature called "I'm good for it." I've got 3 street cred among criminals, effectively giving me a wealth level of 3 when acquiring stolen, black market, or illegal goods. Once again, that lends to the smuggling aspect of my characters. And for the skills, I get 3 feat picks in step 3. So step 3 goes to acquire some criminal talents. A life of crime comes with a manner of unusual opportunities for quote unquote personal growth. While these skills are not commonly appreciated in the lives of law abiding citizens, they can come in handy in more adventurous pursuits. So I won't read through all of them because there's a bunch of them: 2, 4, 6, 8 different options. I get to
Whoa.
pick 3 of the minor ones. Uh, so I went with uh, the first one being hard time. You have done some real time in a maximum security prison. The iconic equipment that comes with it is a prison tattoo, which I was sitting there running through exactly what that might be, and I thought uh, Clay, or is going to be Jay, would have a prison tattoo of Justice, the one of the women in the heist of Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. He would just have a prison
Aha.
tattoo of her because he's completely enamored with her, or Alanis Morissette because I can't get enough of her. It also comes with enhanced street cred, which increases my starting street cred by 1 point to a maximum of 5, which ties in nicely with my chilling like a villain ability,
Hmm.
boosting all that up. And then this is one where I went with flavor over mechanics a little bit, where it comes with a criminal record. So I have advantage on charisma checks interacting with the criminal underworld. and disadvantage on charisma checks when interacting with law enforcement or private security that knows about your record. Now that double
Cool.
dips a little bit on the juvenile delinquent because I already get advantage on to buy or sell illicit goods or services, but it made sense for the build. So to me, story will always trump. So, and then on my third one, I went with street fighting. Now, this is where I went back to the mechanics a little bit because I wanted some proficiencies. So, street fighting gives me basic and advanced equipment proficiencies, which I realized without that, I got nothing. And it gives you a great little ability called Take a Punch. You have damage reduction 2 versus damage from unarmed strikes, and also have advantage on saving throws to avoid being stunned or knocked out as the result of an attack dealing bludgeoning damage. So
Handy.
that to me is, yeah, very handy. It kind of erases my my double dipping on the streetwise advantage. So to me, that made the most sense, and it really fleshes out my character a lot. So uh, that to me was extremely valuable. So that takes care of uh, my professions.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, for my character's profession, again, just with the storyline that I was inspired by,
Mhm.
uh, prior to joining up with the military and the super soldier program situation, the character had been a physician. He'd been a doctor, and then he, joined the military, got experimented on, wasn't told exactly what was going on. He was told that they were just vitamin supplements. That wasn't vitamins, but and then he, well, for a good bit of the show, he's not really working because he's supposed to be dead. But I ultimately, so I was flip flopping between the itinerant and unemployed professions, which would kind of fit where he's at the beginning of the show, or military since he had joined the military. But I was thinking the martial arts class I'm going for will actually fill in a lot of the physical skills and abilities he got from his special forces training. So I actually went with the medicine background because at his heart, as far as what the skills he has outside of combat, he's a healer. He in the TV show he actually tries to occasionally help people out in sort of sub rosa clinics that are kind of under the radar, not technically legal clinics. And his medical knowledge, he's occasionally finds someone that is about to die and tries to provide an emergency medical treatment at the time, get them to a hospital quick. So I went with the medicine profession, and mechanically speaking, that gives him a wealth level of 3 and proficiency with insight and medicine for diagnosis and gauging the mental as well as physical wellness of the patient.
Mhm.
He gets a special feature called prescriptions. Mechanically speaking, it's not really a mechanical special feature; it's a narrative one. It's basically that you have access to a wide range of prescription pharmaceuticals and otherwise restricted drugs that you can write prescriptions for. Now, there is a note written in the book that says abuse of this power can lead to serious legal jeopardy. But
Yeah, that is a
especially
fact.
if there were to be a situation involving like a poison or a disease or a long-term injury, he could prescribe medicine that could help long-term care. And he also gets to boost his intelligence score and 2 other ability scores by 1. I will actually be rolling the ability scores live, so I will decide which 2 ability scores get those +1s at a later point in the podcast tonight.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
beautiful.
Bringing up the the medicine aspect of it, I can't help but notice there really aren't a lot of classes specifically designed around healing. Not like D20 Modern, how they had the paramedic
Mhm.
advanced
Right. I think
class.
the closest we have with Everyday Heroes in the Vault, the combat medic is
Hmm.
entirely focused on not necessarily getting hit points back, but uh, helping get rid of conditions, boosting
Hmm.
people's defenses with temporary hit points. And the scientist class also is another smart archetype. Uh, that one also has a few um, antidote and physical boosting capabilities.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think because this is such a pulp action movie style of game and gameplay world, there's not really the fantasy healing style that a lot of us are used to from, say, Dungeons and Dragons. But
Mhm.
on the one hand, that makes the risk reward situation a lot more intense with every combat.
Mhm.
And I think it's rather fun, but I think there are going to be some healer classes coming up. Or at least a possibility to use literal healing spells with everyday Arcana classes and magic systems. I know that several classes that have been discussed on Facebook or in the Discord that would be life magic or healing magic capable would be like the Sanguinist Tough Hero,
Mhm.
the Mystic Wise Hero, or depending on how you build your Adept or Arcanist class hero, you could get some healing spells in there. And I think they mentioned that the Harmonist Wise Hero in Intergalactic Heroes does have some healing capabilities.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so it is definitely something to note in this particular game. There's not going to be a lot of lay on hands type of situations going on in Everyday Heroes.
Right, right. And for military, I'm curious if to find out if they'll have like a Navy corpsman. Uh, that would be
That
great.
would be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you can use the Special Forces military career path in the Vault
Mhm.
to include medical training, like for say a pararescue or a corpsman. You can build something like that with this beautiful career path mechanic that they put into the Vault.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That.
it speaks to it absolutely.
Oh yeah. So so taking medicine. I mean, that's a what very interesting path to take. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks. It also kind of fleshes the character out a bit, makes them a bit more multifaceted.
Mm.
Speaks to the
Yeah.
on the run part as well, because you got to take care of yourself somehow. You know, writing yourself
Absolutely.
prescriptions, knowing a little bit of
Hmm.
medicine. It makes you viable on the run.
Very
Absolutely, and
yeah self sufficient.
hmm
Yeah.
and it actually kind of reminds you of the old Bixby Incredible Hulk TV show. You guys, he's a physicist and medical doctor, like on the run, helping people as along the way or patching himself up. As yeah,
Hot damn, that's a
not
great.
not not.
That's a good one.
I'm not going to go back further down that rabbit hole. I love the old shows. I don't want to derail us too much. I just shout out to the original Incredible Hulk TV show. That was that was just beautiful. I loved it.
Oh, so much
Yeah,
fun.
first show to show Daredevil and Thor in live action during some of the made for TV movies elements.
Oh
And
yeah.
John Reese Davies as Kingpin. That was awesome.
And who doesn't love John Rhys Davis as anything?
I know, right?
That man's just brilliant. Sorry for the
Mm.
derail.
No, no. Now we have to figure out: does John Reese Davies have a connection to Eric Roberts?
He's got to. Oh
See,
my God, that's one of the top searches. Eric Roberts, John Reese. Oh no,
Really?
is is not correct. No, he's got to have some connection. I'll find it out and I'll report it next time.
That's fair. Homework.
Yeah.
we'll figure it. Oh, uh, oh no, never mind. That's John Foyt. All right. So when I came from profession for me, I was tied between journalism and investigative services, but I figured journalism's probably stays much closer. Um, so some of the sample careers for journalists, you have got bloggers, investigative reporter, journalist, news anchor, paparazzi, photojournalist. Um, yeah, I figured that was probably one of the best ways to go. They also get I get another additional language, another ability bump to wisdom, and two others of my choice, which is cool. Skill proficiency, insight, investigation, and streetwise. Iconic equipment, digital recorder, notepad, pencil, press credentials, laptop computer. They get a wealth bonus of 2, and the special feature is I am with the press. You gain advantage on charisma persuasion checks made to convince people to talk to me. and answer basic questions. And at the GM's discretion, my
Sure.
credentials may allow me access to off-limit areas.
Very nice. Very nice.
So,
Fits perfect.
Like a glove.
now I'm trying to remember in Kong Skull Island.
Brie
What?
Larson's character is a journalist,
Yes, yeah. I was gonna say,
photographer.
wasn't there a class built for that too for her character? Because
Uh,
I know there was
there
Monster
was a
Hunter.
specific there was a specific profession that was sort of a subset of journalism. I think it was actually I'm flipping through my war photographer.
There we
There it
go.
is. Yep.
War photographer. That it's in the vault. It's the last of the professions before you get into the extraordinary professions.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, that particular profession was built with her character in mind, and Monster Hunter was definitely built with the fantastic Tom Hiddleston's character in mind.
Mm-hmm.
See, I need to get my hands on the Volt. I do not have it. I've been just collecting the cinematics, and kind of piecemealing it together. But I really should get the Vault. Um,
Well,
because
highly recommend.
it sounds like there's additional stuff that's not found in any of the other books, even collectively, right?
There is, and to be
Yes.
fair, because of IP specific situations,
Yeah.
there are some stuff in the CAs that is not going to be in the vault. For example, the Unisol, the specific Unisoldier origin, that's
Mhm.
only in the Unisoldier CA. It's not in the vault because it's too specific.
Mhm.
Um, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and there's also minor changes to some of the classes as well.
Mhm.
Bonded Twins, for example, is in Pacific Rim, but it leaves off the specifics of them, their ability to drift.
Because the drift
So it
mechanic is narratively specific to the Pacific Rim IP.
Right.
exactly.
Eh,
Everything else is in that level one. You get the bonded, the coordination, discordant, separation, all of that. You still get with that, but yeah, it removes the stuff that is specific to that setting. Or so yeah, you can piecemeal it together.
mhm.
But I think naturally with something like that, unless you are setting it in that Pacific Rim setting, uh, there would be no use for it anyway. So you would probably just at the table be like, well, it comes to this ability, but I'll just drop it off.
Right.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, because that was the drift aspect of Pacific Rim. That's where my brain goes to. This should be a charisma class, not a wise class, because it's a battle of personalities, and that for the force of psyche that they have to be able to bond and mesh and combine perfectly in order to pull it off. And so for me, that seems more of a charisma. Uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
Intuitively charismatic.
Yeah, something. Yeah, yeah, some basic. Yeah, force of will and all of that really combining into it, making that essential. Um, that's why I was kind of like, yeah, when it comes to the wisdom. But I think in terms of the vault and seeing how you've built it, I think wisdom works best for that version.
Yeah, because it does speak to, like I said, there. I mean, there's an intuition that's built between
Mhm.
the two. And what I realized is, after all we've been talking about this, I never even touched on what the bonded twins were.
Go ahead,
As
talk
a
about it.
class.
Let's go ahead and talk about
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Because
well,
we're getting
basically, what it
into the
is
classes right now.
Wow.
yeah. So the bonded twins, it's you are playing two characters simultaneously that are bound, whether through intentional science, mutation, or accident. You are two people whose minds have been merged into a single consciousness. You're effectively one person, a person living inside of two bodies, which you control with perfect coordination. The bonded twins are perfectly in sync, acting as a single character. They can take advantage of their two bodies to team up on their enemies, and their mental connection allows them to communicate information between themselves instantly and silently. which once again, I read that, I think about the communication between Jay and Silent Bob. Um, they're, I mean, they are self-proclaimed hetero life mates, and in this class, they talk, and in Pacific Rim, these people that just link together so perfectly, and they have this innate ability to sort of read each other's thoughts and movements and anticipate each other's moves. They know exactly what the other one is thinking. Going back to the Pacific Rim, I mean, the way that people drift, they have to have this almost like a soul connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is what speaks to these two characters. They are fully capable of anticipating each other's thoughts and actions using nonverbal communication as if bound telepathically or by use of hand signals. So this is a very cool class because I imagine almost everybody here has had the concept or done it before to build a character in a role playing game where you're just playing two characters as one, and this kind of allows you within the bounds of the rules to play two characters as one without overpowering it or putting too much work on your GM or on yourself to play these characters, and it just uh, fits very thematically. It does level it out in a very fair way, where you're actually two people who share a mental connection so powerfully you function as a single individual. So you still have your one action, your one bonus action, your reaction, and all of that, but you also take the same initiative, everything. So it doesn't overpower you compared to your fellow players,
Hmm.
but it does give you certain things where when you take the dash, disengage, or dodge action, your both of your bodies can take that action. Breaking out of a grapple, both of them do that. Uh, you can take an action or a bonus action to reload a weapon. Both bodies can take that action. Dive for cover. The big thing that makes a big difference in this class is you can make an offhand attack with a weapon that your other body is holding instead of a weapon in your other hand, and it removes the need for it to be a light weapon as long as it's not heavy or two-handed. So you are getting a little bit more damage if you're basically making an offhand attack because you can do it with uh, two weapons outside of the light property. Like I said, they can't be heavy and they can't be two-handed, but you do get a chance to share a little bit, and you do suffer a little bit of a detriment if they're too far apart. If they're more than 100 feet apart, everything is a disadvantage,
Right.
which
Interesting.
kind of makes sense. It's a discordant separation, but there's the rules are set up a little bit differently when it comes to making your saves and everything, and how they really went into sort of think about how these characters would react to taking damage. So, a non-damage physical effect that affects both bodies, you make separate saves, but a non-damaging mental effect that calls for a saving throw, you make one save per body and everything. So it really does look at what you can uh, expect to get out of this class as far as splitting your turn between these two characters that you're playing as one. So
Awesome.
it's a really fun class, and I'm actually looking forward to getting to play this at some point.
Sweet.
Nice. Speaking of two characters, Endangered Species is the Eric Roberts, John Rhys Davies film. There you go. Found it.
Ah, there you
They
go.
are connected. Yep. Everyone's connected.
That's
I
good
tell you.
news.
There you go. Found it. All right. And how about you?
Okay, so for character class, I went with the Agile Hero class, archetype martial artist class,
Mm-hmm.
and one this character. Again, you could have gone a lot of different ways with a superhuman character like this. I mentioned the brawler class before, which can give a massive amount of damage in a single blow.
Mhm.
The tough archetypes have just immense tankage capabilities, and some awesome classes. There's not a single bad archetype in this game. All 6 archetypes have absolutely fantastic classes for a wide range of styles of play.
I agree.
But again, because of my recent experiences, got martial arts on the brain, and because of some of the enhanced mobility and striking power that the martial artist gives, that to me, in this moment, in this day, that spoke to me as a great way to portray this style of on the run mutant super soldier. So for all agile heroes get a fast reflexes ability. That's their starting talent over there, and it says that you have advantage on all initiative rolls. Now, with my on the edge situation, that's a very interesting synergy because this character will already have advantage on initiative, and if it's still not good, I could re-roll the final product once
Oh,
Nice.
because he's just constantly on the wire. He's constantly looking out for fight or flight. And as far as the martial arts situation goes, he gets proficiency in strength and dexterity saving throws, which again makes perfect sense for the class and perfect sense for a super soldier type character. He's can dodge like nobody's business, and he can just bulldoze through or break grapples. For skills, he gets to choose 2 from a skill list, and I went with athletics and stealth because constantly hiding, constantly on the run, doing the whole Batman disappear into the shadows thing half the time in the first season, and athletics because I mean the guy, he's got an amazing speed and reaction time, but he's also super strong. Well, superhumanly strong, I should say.
Mhm.
And then he gets an equipment proficiency in basic and historical weapons. Now, this is where it's going to deviate from the character in the show is constantly using his fists and occasionally firearms because of his past in the military. But I'm just gonna ignore that part because I wanted to play a martial artist. But because you can't have everything. You can't have everything. And maybe as this guy levels up, he'll get some equipment proficiency feats or something. But as a first level martial artist, he gets a feature called martial arts, and this is going to bump his unarmed strikes by up by 1 die step.
Mhm.
Now in Everyday Heroes, everybody starts out with a 1d4 damage die for their unarmed strikes. This is a bit of a boost from what people are used to in 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, where you just get a single point of damage plus your ability bonus modifier. So that means this martial artist starts out with a 1d6 bludgeoning damage unarmed strike. Again, really fits the whole mutant aesthetic here. And because, let's see, it also says that he treats all melee weapons that are not heavy as finesse, which means he can, if his dexterity is higher than his strength, he can use that for the attack and damage and still get that really powerful hit and damage feel, that cinematic superhero vibe.
that is a great ability.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I
That
know.
is really
Uh,
good.
in the core book, the MMA fighter Strong Hero also has an ability at first level that boosts their unarmed damage up and lets them do some additional stuff for that style of combat.
Mhm.
And I believe that 1 or 2 of the classes that have been sneak peeked at on Facebook posts and Discord posts in the upcoming books for Intergalactic Heroes and Everyday Arcana have some ability to do things along that line as well, and it's quite fun. And that's me.
Great.
Okay. I'm gonna rewind and we can go. I'm just gonna go through the all of the character classes here. Since we've got the strong hero, we've got which subsects into the brawler, the heavy gunner, and the MMA fighter. You got the agile heroes, like we've been discussing with the martial artist. We got the scoundrel and the sharpshooter, which I'm very happy with the sharpshooter. I have another character that I'm working
Oh
on,
yes.
um, one that's built a bit more on the cybernetic side, He's a 3-armed cyborg who wields
Sweet.
three separate pistols. So I'm
Whoa,
I'm building that one right now.
Sweet.
that's awesome.
But I want to get the Vault. I want to get the Vault book because, like you said, there's some minor changes between the the IP and the standardized rules. So I would like to see if there's a difference in the stress pool and how many cybernetics you can have, and all the little uh, changes from there. So I'm interested in reading that. We got the Tough, which the following up. You got the Bodyguard, you got the Commando, you got the Scrapper. Smart Heroes, you get quite a few of them actually. Now,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
now with Smart and Charismatic, the reason why they have 4 was that because of unlocks from the Kickstarter. Was
I
that the
believe that is
reason why?
correct. Yeah, I believe that is correct. In particular, I want to say the manipulator charming hero was one of the unlocked additional
Mhm.
additional player options that were made available. I'm fairly certain that was one of them.
Yeah.
And was Hacker the other one too for the Smart?
Uh oh gosh,
I'm
I'm
trying to
trying to
remember.
remember. Uh, that feels likely. That feels likely.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's been so long, but I
it has been a long time, hasn't it? although really not all that long, really. It's I mean the book. The core book was only printed back in flipping to the credits and front page section.
oh 20
Uh,
2022.
yeah, yeah. It's only been 2 years.
But see, with everything going on
But
in the
yeah,
world, I mean, those 2 years
yeah,
is like
that's
20
fair.
years.
Those 2
That
years are
that is
5
very
years.
fair. Very fair.
I mean, the last 3 weekends have been at least a decade of historic events.
No kidding.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah.
Oh my god. Can the world just like pause for a second, and just like let things breathe and chill? Everybody just
Yeah,
relax,
can everyone just chill out?
please. For the love of
Relax.
God, please just chill out.
That'd be nice.
Oh my gosh. So we got engineer, we've got hacker. What was it? The mastermind, and oh my god, there's so much. And
Scientist.
scientist. There's so many pages between mastermind and scientist. Oh my goodness.
Yes, some of the mastermind plans, well, appropriately, are pretty involved and have a lot of options that you can choose from when you initiate those plans.
Mm-hmm. That's a class, man. I don't know if I have any interest in. It's very complex.
It's got some very interesting utility for
Mm-hmm.
a good heist game or a good intrigue focused game.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, it's a reading class. Like you definitely want to do your research if you really want to
Mhm.
maximize it out. Build out
Yeah,
some combinations there.
definitely one of the more complex options out there. But
It's
Yeah, which is always
like I said,
fun to
no,
do.
there are no bad options here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also knowing how to read the room too, because if it would take a certain kind of person who knows how to wrangle cats in order to pull off a lot of that stuff.
Truth,
Yeah.
truth.
Because I mean, I would definitely have I'm definitely within the capabilities of stumbling through a situation and totally cocking up somebody's master plan and causing them a lot of
And you know what?
headache.
You're a guy.
hmm
So we go on to wise heroes. We got Hunter, we've got Master and Sleuth, which is where I'm landing. Master seems interesting.
It's a
How,
really fun one. That was the first Everyday Heroes character I made to play with was a Wise Master. It's uh if you like the monk character class from D&D 5,
mhm.
the elements of that class have been kind of split between the martial artist and the master in at least the thematic concepts of that class have been split between the martial artist and the master.
Yeah.
The martial artist is focused on speed and precision and turning your fists and feet into deadly weapons. The master is about redirecting the energies of your enemy and focusing more on an internal martial art as opposed to an external martial art. That is to say, soft versus hard martial art philosophies. So it's got a lot of cool elements to it. I think my favorite part of the master is the whole you get damage reduction 15 against all falling damage because you just land lightly on your feet like a light stepping like kung fu movie style situations, and being able to substitute your wisdom for dexterity or strength for your unarmed and melee weapon attacks.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now,
Oh yeah.
my only catch is I'm not gonna say that the artist did a bad job because the art's great. I just feel like the glass ball aspect of it.
They went with kind of a new age guru type situation for
Yeah.
the visual representation of the master wise hero class. It was a very interesting choice and did show that there are a range of martial arts traditions worldwide that focus more on that mindfulness and internal control.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It just seems like a very interesting choice. I'm not sure if
Oh, it was.
for for me, as like a red meat and potatoes kind of guy. For me, it's like it had me head scratching as to like why would you of all of them, why this one?
Yeah, I mean,
It
I
was a
think
surprise.
it was an
Yeah.
effort to really separate it away from that, like the classic, like how you picture like kung fu master kind of thing. They're like, let's go
Yeah.
left.
All right, this could be more of a meditative capoeira type situation, or any number of traditional, uh, more meditative martial art forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, the capoeira thing, it does kind of remind me of the Bob's Burger episode with the capoeira.
That's what
Capoeira.
came to my mind too. Just
Yeah.
kept tripping him up over and over and over again. Oh my gosh. See, now that makes sense. All right. Now
Yeah.
I'm kind of liking it. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's like discovering a tasty piece of candy, but the wrapper's kind of, I don't know, like nondescript or
Unexpected.
yeah, unexpected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
good Brazilian jiu-jitsu type situation going on there.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
take it.
interesting. But and as for Sleuth, I love that character design. And
Mm-hmm.
particularly the one piece of artwork where it's her jumping through the window as she's jumping from one building to another. I
That's pretty
love
epic.
that is hands down one of the best piece of art in this book. I love that
Oh yeah,
picture.
it's very Batman. I love it.
Hmm. Man, it's so cool. I love this. I love the sleuth characters. I've loved since D20 Modern. I've loved those detective type characters and all of that. When I actually got to play as them, most of the time I would be the last guy picked for the roster of games,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm like, oh well, I guess I'll be the paramedic because and then of course I'm always busy. My character's always busy. Field surgery, using this
Hmm.
medical kit on this guy. Yeah, everybody's Leroy Jenkins.
Oh yeah.
Now that there actually is in the core book, there's a minor feat called Battlefield Medic that
Mhm,
any character that for whatever reason is proficient with the medicine skill and has a first aid kit,
mhm.
they can do a little bit of on the spot stabilizing people with a bit more success, granting some temporary hit points on the spot in combat.
Mhm.
So while there's not a dedicated outside of say the combat medic situation in the vault, you could effectively designate just about anybody to be a combat medic with the use of that feat and a good enough medicine skill check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a
it's
ripcord. I mean,
yeah.
anyone can cover that healing class. It's like, all right, who's taking it? Who's taking this minor feat?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, the combat medic in the vault, does that have the ability for bringing people back from the dead?
As a matter of fact, I believe there is a plan that does effectively let you revivify someone.
Okay.
I'm flipping to there as we speak,
Okay.
and okay, keeping my finger on the mutations page for when we get to the ability score rolls. But here we go. Combat Medico, or Medic, sorry, that's just me being silly. All right, let's see here. We've got. It's not so bad. Hit him where it hurts. Field surgery. Uh, let's see here. Adrenaline burst. Uh, rest and relaxation. Love it. Uh, Here we go. You'll be okay. You can activate this plan as an action to restore health to an adjacent ally at 0 hit points. They may immediately spend a hit die and add their Constitution modifier to regain hit points equal to the result. And that's just first level Smart Hero plans, and we'll talk about this more when we do our specific Smart Hero class episode or archetypes episodes. But at third, fifth, seventh, and ninth level, that healing effect gets bigger. So
Nice.
it is effectively a revivify spell for all those fifth edition D&D listeners out there.
Perfect.
Once you get up to the appropriate level,
Of course. I'm
and
looking for.
provided that the target has hit die left to spend. That was a
Mm,
very interesting and, in my opinion, very fun mechanical and narrative choice with Everyday Heroes. The healing effects that do exist in the game revolve around whether it's the person taking the second wind action to roll a hit die or rolling hit die during rests to regain points. Your character's body has limits, and once they reach that limit, they got to rest
hmm.
and regain some of those spent hit die.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
it makes every combat that much more intense because the risk is that much more real.
Great
And
design.
there you have it.
It is a great design, man.
Agreed, absolutely.
Smart. And again, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to when we start doing actual deep dives of each class and we go through all the different archetypes. I'm really interested and in learning
Oh
more
yes.
and expressing more with everybody. So since our last episode, I've been kind of going through other YouTube channels and podcasts and such, and a lot of them they it's Everyday Heroes has just been like an episode, one or two episodes at most. They kind of just go over the the broad strokes of everything, and without going a lot into detail. And so I'm really hoping that people will find that more engaging as we go through and we start talking about all this stuff. And I'm hoping people will like that and will react positively towards that.
Yeah, I
That's the
definitely
hope.
agree. I like that, bro. It lets you. It gives you a wider playing field.
Hmm.
Hmm. Truly. Like I know that there is a fella on YouTube. His channel is Ron Talks Tabletop. He did some amazing brief intro videos into the six character classes and some brief intros into the archetypes from the core book. It was very well done. He's fantastic little snippets that really drew people in. Like I love just listening to them while I was waiting for the book to get here in the mail.
I'll
I'll
have
have
to
to,
check it out.
yeah, same. I don't think I've come across his yet. Oh
Oh
gosh.
yeah, just shout out to him. It's he's got and he has a channel that's focused on a wide range of different games. So he did a full like 6 episode uh series of like what are these classes? What is the idea behind these classes? What are some like iconic pop culture fictional characters that would fit into these? And again, for those listening at home, when we say class and everyday heroes, we don't mean the same thing as necessarily class and subclass in 5e.
Mhm.
We've got an archetype that would be the larger category of character, and then within each archetype, you've got individual classes, like or
Yeah.
subclasses, if you want to call them that.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I going through my YouTube history. Night Saber Z, Heroes and Histories. Heroes and Histories again. Books, Bricks, and Boards. Skyhammer Press, and Den of Geeks. Those were all the ones all the channels that I was kind of listening to while I was out mowing my yard and doing my weed whacking and all that stuff. So yeah, they did. I think they all did fairly well with
Mm.
their introduction to it. But there's so much meat on these bones that I'm glad that I was able to find people who were willing to sit down and do a podcast with me, and because there's so much to go through. It's a
Oh, absolutely.
thick book, so much
Yeah.
book.
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as just setting neutral situations, we've only got the vault and the core book, but when you add in the
Mhm,
CAs,
mhm.
and there's just so much material. It is truly beautiful.
There's so much material, but none of it, it doesn't really put too much into a box. Like you were saying,
Mhm.
painting with these broad strokes, there's so much versatility in it, but it does
Mhm.
leave you a lot of room for how you're going to play like your character.
Yeah,
Very true. Very true.
and even just mixing and matching things, you can expand upon certain cinematic adventures or even create new things, such as Pacific Rim. I believe there's one monster in there that if you kind of homebrew it a little bit, you can turn it into Godzilla. You can always
Hmm.
turn one of the Jaegers into Jet Jaguar.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
imagine being like a bonded twin, being bonded twins, piloting Jet Jaguar and fighting Kong and
Mhm.
Godzilla or Rodan or any of the other monsters. I To me, I mean that sounds like a lot of fun. You can always keep
Yeah.
the game going.
Yeah, it's less of I kind of look at this game as less of a jigsaw puzzle, more of like building blocks.
Hmm.
Not it's everything can kind of be put together, and like you said, you've got this military larper,
Hmm.
and all of these things. I mean, of course,
So
there's
many
mechanics for that
combinations.
in any system, but this I think there is an appeal to this because these are all things that I mean it's called everyday heroes. It's
Hmm.
things that we can connect with
Yeah,
on an everyday level,
yeah.
and
Truth.
reach into to those things that we I see in movies but you also come across it in your everyday life. Hence
Hmm.
the title.
Yep. And I think we still have the charming
Yep,
hero classes to go through, and then maybe a little bit of info about what the sleuth class gives your character.
yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, with charming heroes, we've got the duelist, you got the icon, you've got the leader, which I like, and the manipulator,
Love
which
that
was
one.
yep. Yeah, manipulator's interesting. I kind of liked it. Um, with
Yeah, I'm a big
demoralize,
leader fan,
copy.
but the manipulator's got a lot of fun stuff there.
Yeah. Now there was one I wish that could have made the transition from D20 Modern into Everyday Hero, and that was the Negotiator. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
I remember that one. There's a little bit of that in the networker charming class in the vault.
Hmm.
There's some definite notes of that in the networker, and I want to say the the opportunist charming class that has been uh, previewed a little bit of for Intergalactic Heroes does have a little bit of that fast talking. I'm gonna eh, negotiate things to my benefit
Hmm.
going on there. I think there's a new one coming out for Everyday Arcana called the Fixer as well. Wheeler and
yeah.
Dealer.
Wheel and Dealer. Hmm. I know the Billionaire also has some
Oh,
subtlety
so much, so
because
much.
like because I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
buy you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because like the negotiator, it's like I'm gonna talk you out of the situation. I'm gonna talk you into defeat. And that's like with them, it's like, all right, how much money you want just to shut up? Put your guns down. I love that. I thought that
Hmm.
was cool. I thought that was cool, man. So going ahead and going back to the sleuth here, they've got deduction and sixth sense as well as weak spot. The deduction: when you fail an intelligence ability check, you can re-roll the check, and this can be done only once per ability check, which isn't too bad. Sixth Sense:
Yeah.
you gain the following benefits. You can use Wisdom instead of Dexterity for any attack or damage roll you make with weapons that don't have the heavy property, which is perfectly fine,
Sweet.
and I like that. I like that a lot. And you use Wisdom instead of, or yep, you use Wisdom instead of Dexterity for your initiative rolls,
Mm-hmm.
and you can,
Situational awareness. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, knowing how to anticipate somebody coming at you, and you can take the search action as a bonus action rather than a standard action, which I like that too. Weak spot: as a bonus action, you can spend one focus to gain advantage on your next attack roll against the opponent you can see. If that attack hits, you deal an additional 1d6 damage. The amount of extra damage increases as you gain levels in this class, as shown in the weak spot column on the sleuth table. So starting off, you get 1d6. At 3, it's 2d6. At 5, it's 3d6. 7, it's 4d6. And at level 9, it is 5d6, which is a pretty hefty chunk of change.
Yeah, that's a dice pool.
Mm-hmm. On top of whatever gun you're using. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty nice.
Very.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought that was another interesting thing too about this, how certain classes have little bonus points. You have genius points, focus points, and influence points.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were nice little bonus features for the soft classes.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes those soft
Absolutely.
classes more viable, and
Hmm.
you know, like it really encourages uh, the use of those classes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it gives you, it kind of gives you a little bit more, not so much incentive to play the classes, but yeah, you know, you have your players that are like, yeah, I want to go in there and wreck house and do a bunch of damage and everything. And because you get to, you get to roll all your dice, you get to see, hit points dropping
Mm-hmm.
on enemies and monsters and everything. But to have that, to be like, hey, like, by the way, like, look at this, like, you get this
Mm-hmm.
little pool of stuff that you can enact change in your campaign with, or in your
Hmm.
games with.
Oh yeah.
And
It's
that the focus points uh for the wise heroes, it's great, man. I mean,
Hmm.
the bonded twins, I mean, you spend focus points and just get to stack advantage on stuff.
mm-hmm.
That's their
Yeah.
whole thing. You put your body in range and get advantage on your attacks, your ability rolls, saving throws right off the bat at level 1. So you're tactical in that. Why, you don't think of your,
Mm-hmm.
look at your wise heroes to be like, all right, well, my focus is actually going to be spent on putting myself at an advantageous position in combat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Increased perception.
a lot of the builds that I sometimes make for like my favorite movie characters and show characters, y- you take the building blocks of the hard and soft classes and say, okay, well, if I take this combination, then this allows me to have more of those influence focus plan materials for these effects because it can balance out. The hard classes tend to have constantly active benefits and abilities, while you have a blend of constantly active versus uh, or passive versus the fueled kinetic abilities.
Hmm.
So it's a really great balance. The game designers did a great deal of thought and effort, and it shows. It's a wonderful system.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious as to how much knowledge they brought over from D20 Modern into this, knowing like if they've done their research about what classes were people primarily playing during that time, and what were their complaints about it from back then, and how to adjust some of those. Because I don't really remember a whole lot of people wanting to play as charismatic characters from the D20 Modern era, Mostly it was, people wanted to go
Hmm.
gunslinger and
Right.
soldier,
Hmm.
and those heavy hitters, and not so much on the softer side of things, especially paramedic. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was always just me,
I think it also
and that
spoke
was
to
out of
your
necessity.
GM and the way
Hmm.
that as your GM might run your games.
Yeah.
Truth.
I think it's a simple formula when you run games to be like, all right, uh, here's a couple ability checks. All right, now do a fight. Here's a
Hmm.
couple. Here's a puzzle. Here's some ability checks. Now do a fight.
Hmm.
But if you've got a GM who's running stuff that is asking for more of a charismatic hero as an intelligent hero, going back to like plans and everything. I mean, I hate to say it again and bring it back to Shadowrun, but there is a whole section of the game that is negotiating with Mr. Johnson at the front end of your job, which
Yeah,
is
you gotta
easy to
have your
skip.
face.
Hmm.
Yeah, if it's easy to skip if you're a GM who's not gonna lean into that, but you read your players and you're just like, okay, well, now is my time to let this player who decided to play a face or to play, a
Hmm.
charismatic hero. Let me find a way, and to me, that's a fun challenge as a GM to be like,
Absolutely.
all right, yeah,
Hmm.
let me step into the real hard role play of this and make it worth this player's while to build this class because they spend time on that too.
Absolutely. And as players too, I think it's important that everybody understands not just their own character, but what other players do. Um, I know in my Transformers game, my modded version, I play a face character. He's a negotiator, and I can't tell you how often I'll have somebody else attempt to make all the charisma checks, and it's like,
Dude.
I'm like, it's kind of what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, you are great at your combat role, and you're great at your, doing what you do, but it's like, okay, like I don't want to just sit here on this floor looking at a piece of paper or waiting to roll dice. I want to be able to engage too. Um, I think that's one of the key things for players is really knowing how to play that teamwork, play and really boosting up other people's strengths in those situations too.
Truly.
Um, yeah, I mean we're building a story together. It's not about spotlights, I guess.
Exactly.
So, but
I think the only thing left for our characters is ability scores.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I think that. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say now there are three separate methods on how to do this, and there are three of us. There is the dice roll. You can leave it all up to chance. There's the point buy, and there's the array, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So,
Oh yeah.
what do you guys prefer when you're doing your stats?
My preference is usually rolling. I have a very interesting relationship with dice as far as what the outcomes are, so it's always more entertaining, at least for me and those that happen to be around me when I roll.
Yeah, I mean, dice rolling was, the way I came into, early on tabletop gaming and everything, and then I started playing with a lot more mechanically inclined people who were, where we started. One day it was just like, well, let's do some point buy,
Hmm.
and then it was point buy from there on out. But I rolled a character recently, and I gotta say it worked to my advantage because I was sitting there. I was like, "Hey, I'm always wary about rolling because I'm gonna end up underpowered." And I rolled my stat line, and I'm like, "Yeah, I think rolling might be the way to go again." But I think for tonight, what I want to do is roll straight down the stat line
Hmm.
and just take it from strength
Oh, old school.
down to charisma. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna place them. I'm gonna roll them top to bottom.
Ooh,
Okay. All right.
that's
Living
not
on
that.
the edge.
Yeah, that's an extra challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. And yourself, are you going to go for an array or a point buy, or are you gonna do another roll variant?
I was you had mentioned you wanted to do an array, right?
I was thinking of doing a straight roll for comedy purposes,
Oh,
but
okay.
but I can certainly do an array. Yeah, so
Oh,
this is a great way because I'm using one of the non-human origins, so that would be a good way to introduce the stat array and see how that can be impacted by the origins. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
well, I mean, we could always juxtaposition them or juxtapose them and see which one you would have wound up better with, your
Oh,
array
okay.
choice or
Yeah,
your
can
dice
do.
choice. Yeah, because
Can do.
I've got my character sheet right here from Edgar, my chainsaw Leatherface guy, and I rolled him. He got an 18, a 14, 18, a 9, an 11, and a 9. So, my dice were kind of loving me, especially with the backgrounds and the occupations. So those little stat buffs were a nice touch, but yeah, he's none too bright and none too pretty. That's for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, I was probably gonna do. I might. I think for the poops and giggles of it, I think I might roll some dice, but do a point buy in the same regard. I think
Okay.
I'll just juxtapose them
Yeah,
too.
sounds like a plan.
All right. So keeping the radio side of this interesting, so because you know rolling dice is
Right.
not exactly the loudest thing in the world. Um, Let me see here. I got I recommend what dice companies do you usually go through, or do you prefer?
Oh,
Ooh,
like where to buy our dice?
Yeah, where buy them or which? Who do you find has the best clickety clackities?
Kraken.
Ooh.
Kraken. Okay.
Yeah, Kraken dice. But I'll tell you what, like over the years, I have become much less of like let me get like the coolest, most interesting die. I have gone to like a minimalist thing where I will buy uh the plainest dice now. I love my like monocolored die.
Mm,
And a lot of the time what I'll do is I will just I would buy like, all right, let me get a pounded die, and I've got them here. But like when I'm playing at my table, I get the plainest D6s, monocolored D20s, like the most basic looking. I don't know why I started leaning that way, but I have the most boring looking dice at the table.
I can almost promise you one of the reasons why, and it's because some of these very intricate, swirly types, they may look very pretty, but they don't pick the right ink for the numbers. And it always just like
Ah,
you have to
true.
like squint and look real hard to figure out what it is. My wife has that
Mm.
problem every time we sit down to play. She grabs, you know, dark numbers on top of dark colors, and she's squinting and practically
Been there.
snorting dice up her nose. She's so close.
Nice.
But yeah, so I can understand. I totally get why you would want to just go with like a standard white die, black letter, or inverse. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, I love. I mean, ideal all black die, white pips or
Hmm.
white numbering.
Hmm.
Just bring it back to the basics, really.
Yeah.
I have got to say that a straight roll was not the worst thing for me.
Okay.
I mean, I basically may as well. I could have point bought
Hmm.
and not done as well as this.
I've
Let's
got the
see here.
leaning over. Well, fat sucks. Okay, there we go. Um, see, I've got 4 plus 4 plus 3, which is an 11.
Nice.
What'd you get for your first?
I got looks like I got a 14 for my first die roll. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Nice.
This one is bad though. Yeah, that's a 9. That's a 9. Okay. And oh, this one's much nicer. This one's much nicer. I got a 16. That's yes. There's a reason there's a reason I don't gamble.
Same.
It's a self-imposed tax.
Truth. Truth.
two
And
two ones, a 2, and a 5.
nice. Ooh, 17. Nice. And then my last 2 rolls I'm only doing with 3 dice because of the mutant origin that I'm going for. Snake eyes and a 6.
Oof.
Okay, and last one. Double 5s and a 2.
Oof.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
not the worst.
Not
No.
the worst. The 8 and the 9, not my favorites, but the others were actually pretty decent. All right.
Honestly, I'll be honest. I was hoping to report more comedic low rolls, but I gotta say, I mean, I rolled down from strength down to charisma, and I would be very happy with this stat line. And I
Nice.
actually am rolling a second one because I'm curious. I expected a lot worse. The second line definitely is what I was expecting. So
Core. All right. So, I believe not Jay and Silent Bob, but your character's name is
Clay and
Clay
Quiet
and
Rob.
Quiet Rob.
Quiet Rob.
So what did your strength down to charisma show you?
Okay, so this is with just rolling 4, dropping the lowest. I put them in the order that I rolled them. I landed on an 11 in strength, a 13 in dex, which I get a +1 to from my background, which brings me up to a 14, a 15 in con, a 9 in intelligence, a 16 in wisdom, a 15 in charisma, which I get a +1 from my profession, bringing me up to a 16. So 11 strength, 14 dex, 15 con, 9 intelligence, 16 wisdom, 16 charisma. That is a happy stat line.
That is a very happy stat line.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I was a little disappointed with how even keeled that roll was. So I rolled a second line just for fun, which landed on strength 16, 9 dex, pushing it up to a 10, 8 con, 9 intelligence, 9 wisdom, 7 charisma, pushing it up to an 8, which is much more what I expected from my first roll. But
Gotcha.
I'm going to stick with my first. So, yeah, I got to say that Clay and Quiet Rob are going to do quite well out in the world.
Very.
Until I start rolling dice, in which case it'll all go south.
I gotcha. Yeah, my final dice lineup with the rolls was a 17, a 16, a 14, a 12, a 9, and an 8. And that's what I'm using the very strong mutant origin because in the vault we have the baseline that is expected is that you're playing a human, which means you roll 4d6, drop the high one, and keep the 3 best 6 times, and then allot them as you will across the 6 ability scores. Or you have the very familiar starting array and point by that people might be familiar with from, say, 5e. But whether you're a cyborg of varying levels or a synthetic person effectively a living robot, or a mutant of varying power levels, or an immortal, you would still roll the 4d6 and drop the lowest, but for a smaller number of those ability scores, and the remainder would be with just 3 dice to indicate you've got a little higher risk of not getting the high rolls because you have stuff you can get, powers, extra talents, things like that. So
like
if now just for comparison purposes, the starting array for very strong mutants is 2 14s, 2 12s, a 10, and an 8. Very respectable, very good starting stat array for first level. You start out with bonuses on 4 out of 6 and a penalty on only 1. The rolls that I've got penalties on 2, but 2 of those ability scores are markedly are 1 level higher of a bonus than I would get with the starting array. So I think I'm going to, despite the 9 and the 8, I'm going to keep those, and I'm going to put my 17 into Dex, my 16 into Strength, I think I'm going to put a 12 in Intelligence, and I am going to put that 8 into Charisma because, yeah, I think I find that entertaining, and I'll put the 14 into Wisdom, and I'll put the 9 into Constitution. Now, with because of the ability score boost I got from background and profession, the on the run background boosts my Constitution by 1, so that turns that 9 into a 10. The medicine profession boosts my intelligence and 2 other ability scores by 1, so that intelligence goes from a 12 to a 13. And for the other 2 ability scores, we are going to put 1 into charisma to try and boost that just a little bit. So it's a 9 instead of an 8, and I can more easily bump that next time. And to make his medicine checks a bit more effective, well, actually, no, never mind. I can't do that because intelligence already got that from the profession. I think he will put, he'll go ahead and put that last remaining ability score boost into Constitution, since he boosted Constitution from his background, not his profession. That boosts Constitution up to an 11, making it possible for a second level ability score increase feat to bump that up and get a little extra on his Constitution bonus. And that's my ability scores.
Very strong.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very respectable. I mean, it's
That's a very respectable
he's
build.
he was able to get rid of a penalty from one of those minuses thanks to the background and proficiency boosts, and the remaining penalty that I have is only in a single stat rather than 2, and it's something that I could fix pretty easily with feats at second or any other even level.
Excellent. Nothing not to like about that.
Not at all.
Right on. So my dice rolls landed me not too dissimilar from you. I got an 11, a
Sweet.
17, a 13, 8, 9, and 12.
Hey, score.
So, so of course we're gonna dump uh the 17 into the wisdom, and with the
Hmm.
+2 I got from my background and profession, that brings that up to a 19 score. So just about maxed out. So with the
Nice.
+4. Um, you know what? Because he's a cameraman, we're gonna say he's not very strong. So I'm gonna put my 8 there, and of course then divert one of the the +2 from the profession into it. So that'll bring my 8 to a 9. Dexterity would probably want to be probably a bit average. You want to be quick on the draw with the camera. So I would put the 13 there. Constitution. Let's be bold. I'm gonna put the 9, my normal 9 there. And then charisma, I'll make the 12, and the intelligence, I'll make the 11. And so I got, let's see, tackled the strength up to an 8 to a 9. And then I guess I'll just probably dump the other one into the constitution. So bringing my penalty up to a flat 0, to a 10.
Score.
So he's
Yeah.
a 9, 13, 10, 11, 19, and 12.
Nicely done.
So,
Yeah.
which is I mean, it's a decent. I mean, it sort of beats out the array spread. Sort of. Yeah, sort of beats out the array spread. But point blank, I'll have to calculate. We'll have to calculate that one and figure that out because I don't know. I mean, you might be able to beat it or at least match it. I'm pretty close, I think. But I'll
Yeah,
worry
these
about
are
that later.
wonderful stat lines, man. Like these are
Mhm.
for across the board.
Mhm.
I think these level 1 heroes go in with hope.
Bruce.
I agree. I agree.
And then the only other thing left for my character is because he has that mutant background,
Mhm.
he starts first level with I chose the strong mutant background, so he has I'm going to opt to not give him a detrimental mutation. He's on the run from a covert conspiracy. He's got enough on his plate. But he has the option of taking either 2 minor beneficial or 1 major beneficial mutation. And again, in basing this character off of the character of Vincent Keller in Beauty and the Beast, I went with the leaping legs mutation, which
Ooh.
effectively gives him a standing long jump of 30 feet and a standing high jump of 15 feet
Mm.
for the whole like just super jump up to the rooftop of the building situation. And I think improved. I'm gonna give him one of the improved senses because the character's got like full on Wolverine style senses. But since I only have 1 mutation left,
Mhm.
uh, I gotta pick. But I'm gonna. It's a toss up between scent and hearing.
Mm.
So I'm gonna say hearing because I distinctly remember him being able to hear a heartbeat fading from the top of a 5th-story building. So yeah, so improved hearing gives him advantage on perception checks based on hearing, and lets him hear subsonic and supersonic frequencies. So yeah, and with that, I think we've got our characters all finished up.
That is a nice icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I would had I decided to build my cyborg character, I was also going in the same direction. I was going to give him the cybernetic eye, and one of the abilities you have is
Nice,
the laser. You can have the laser shoot out of your pupil, and you
sweet.
get that intimidation, and you get the
Oh, the
uh,
targeting laser eye.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, that sounds so cool.
It's
Oh,
what
it
we want
absolutely is.
I
as
love
as
it.
as a cybernetic.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
I love the cyborg. I love the cybernetics. I have yet to go really deep diving into the mutations because that's in Total Recall, and I don't have that one yet. It's in the works. I'm gonna probably in a paycheck or two. I'm probably gonna place the order for it, and then and then
I hear that.
eventually and then eventually get the vault.
Yeah. Well, those
So.
CAs are still some of them are still pretty nicely discounted on Amazon too.
Hmm.
Go for it. Yeah, they're great. They're great to have on the shelf. I guarantee you'll be using them a
Hmm.
good bit.
Now, I remember they were asking. This was some time ago. They were asking in the Facebook group. They're like, "Hey, does anybody have any fun ideas for backer stuff?" And I don't know if they were warm to the idea or if it just wasn't practical. But one thing that I had recommended was turning the cinematic adventures into like a digest size and have them inside of DVD cases.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be I think that'd be a wonderful it's like special edition anniversary situation.
Mm-hmm. Or like a steel box, something of that general effect. So it's like you could put your copy of The Crow next to your copy of The Crow, or Total Recall next to Total Recall. Like I thought that would have been.
Mhm.
I thought that was just a great idea, but it's probably impractical.
That'd be
Those coordination.
I love fun
But
stuff like that. Like that is the stuff that like small, like I mean, dare I say, like little bit gimmicky things like that. I mean, like the comic books of like the 90s, like a
Mhm.
chromium cover or something like that. Like I eat that shit up, man.
I know that the Savage World folks over at Pinnacle,
mhm.
they did before the most recent Suede edition, they had done what they called Explorers editions, which were much smaller, almost like small paperback novel sized hard copies, well, paperback copies of like the Deadlands rule book and the main core rule book. So I know that that's possible. I am not a business person. I've got no idea what sort of uh, production requirements that would have. I
Yeah.
mean, my gut would say smaller item, smaller cost, but I have no idea if that's reality or not. That's just me with no actual inside knowledge about how the sausage gets made, so to speak.
Yeah.
It
And
might be Starfinder did a paperback copy of their core rulebook that is
Oh, that's
smaller,
right.
yes,
Paizo
that
did
is
that.
yes, I
Yeah,
do.
a little bit discounted.
Yeah.
they
Who
are
knows?
cheaper for
Yeah.
us to buy. That's fair. So I would
I mean,
imagine
maybe
they
a
cost
print
less
to
to make.
order. Do a print to order because
Mhm.
build it and they will buy it.
Absolutely.
I like the Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
And you might just have to go in and just re-edit some stuff, maybe take out some artwork that so it's a lot less fluff and more direct. You could probably trim out quite a few pages, just to get it down to size as well.
Yeah. Or do a minimalist copy that is just
Mhm.
like it just removes all the artwork, leaves the text, and
This is your
be like,
text
there
only
you go.
file.
You're
Screw
like a
your
survival
royalty.
guide.
It says screw your
Yeah.
royalties there, you octopus.
Yeah.
Sling your ink somewhere else, clown.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
The artists are gonna hate me. They're
As
like, I
the art in the art in the Everyday Heroes books has been amazing. I've
yeah.
Yeah.
enjoyed the art immensely. Everything from the character class signature artwork with which has such a range of whether it's sort of that punk goth scoundrel that you've got with
Mhm.
for that agile class, or whether it's the person that reminds me so much of Mr. T in the brawler class.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then like you said, the sleuth was just spot on. It's like kneeling down, staring at the crime scene,
Mhm.
getting all the clues. Yeah, it's just and the duelist with the rapier and the snappy coat and hat.
Yeah.
The
Oh yeah, just
monster
the
hunter
art's
with one
fantastic.
arm and a
Oh, you
shotgun
gotta love.
slung over her arm
Yeah,
and the
you
ball.
gotta love that.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
oh yeah, and the the mutant shapeshifter that's literally going full on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cut all
Uh,
that trash out, make it smaller and cheaper, damn it.
Yeah, and gimme.
to clarify, we are joking around. We love the art.
So cut all that shit out. Oh god.
Oh,
Well,
ah,
anyways, that brings us to a 2-hour mark.
oh
Yep.
wow. Okay, we should probably wrap up so that we don't.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have a great little tagline that will tie it all together too. Right before our closeout.
Sure. Absolutely.
Very
Take it away.
apropos of everything tonight. I figured if we're all settled here, I have a great Eric Roberts fact that will bring it all back together.
All right, we can end on that unless
Let's
anybody
go
else
for it.
wants anything else to say.
No, let's go for it.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right. Well, in celebration of Robert's black belt accomplishment, Eric Roberts has a black belt in Taekwondo and is also a practitioner of Shotokan Karate, Kyokushin Karate,
Whoa.
Aikido, and Shaolin Kung Fu.
Whoa.
So
Very
you're in good
cool.
company.
Huh. It all comes back to Eric Roberts.
And it always will.
So it goes. So it goes. Ah. All right. Thank you guys so much for again for let me be a part of this fantastic set of folks and really we're on 2 episodes in, but I'm having a blast.
Oh, absolutely. Same here.
Same. Yeah.
Same.
So great.
It's a shame that Spectral R.I.P. his butthole and his stomach and the curse the virus that took him out of this episode. But we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say the next episode
Mhm.
around and
Absolutely.
let him give us a whole rundown on what his ideas for his character creation and all that. And
Yeah.
we'll probably discuss off camera about what's going to be in the next episode and where we go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get well soon, Spectral.
Yep, get well.
Absolutely.
And
Uh,
good night, everybody.
Good night. We'll see you, or good morning, depending on whenever you want to watch the episode.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Redemption HQ Episode 2 Character Creation. Look for the Discord, the Evil Genius Discord, and we'll make sure to be posting a poll up for the next episode and see if maybe we can find a quote from you. You can always reach us on the Discord. All of us are active on there, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we also have an email set up. So if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at the eggoonsquad@gmail.com. That is EGGGOONSQUAD@gmail.com. You can reach us there too if you want to be featured. Have a quote featured. If you have any opinions, you want to tell us that we rock or we suck, or you have your own thoughts and opinions on how to build a character or your own methods, please go ahead and give us an email and we will read it live on air. And with that, folks, you have a wonderful time and may all your rolls be 20s and highest numbers.